Good evening, everybody. Keith Engel here. TGI Sports Talks College Football Huddle. Back after a long week on the Caribbean Ocean. Wasn't able to do the show last week. I was going to attempt it, but my better thoughts prevailed. So lots gone on in a couple of weeks. You know, we're going to get into a lot of stuff. Coaches mishandling the clocks, timeouts. It's become an epidemic in the college football world. We'll get into the shakeup in the polls. Georgia they solidify their number one status, I would say. Some big changes. Oklahoma, one of my dark horses, shows why I think they're a dark horse. And some other news as well. We'll look at all of week 6, even some of week 5, if that's what people want to talk about. We'll look at the best of the unbeatens. We'll look at the teams or the fan bases that have the most to be disappointed about. And by the way, I'm wearing the U tonight to show that Mario Cristobal is not the only guy who can make a fool of himself in front of a bunch of people. Idiot. Speaking of disappointed fan bases again, still some hope. We'll look at the week 7 matchups, some big matchups, Oregon and Washington being the big one this weekend. I want to welcome everybody who's watching us tonight on TGI Sports Talk, on Northeast Streaming Sports, on Let's Talk Sports. Anywhere else you might see us as well. And we want to welcome, I guess, a new sponsor. We're going to have a little cross sponsorship, if you will, with Ralph Williams and RW Media and his Sports Corner specifically, which airs on WBVP radio, 1230 AM, 99.3 FM in Pittsburgh. That is the Sports Corner with Ralph Williams and Smokin' Jim Frazier. I believe Monday nights you can catch that show, but we'll get some more clarity from Ralph. And we plan to have Ralph on a little bit, maybe talk some sports with him, and do a little something on his shows from time to time as well. I want to talk real quick before we get going here. Everybody knows about my good friend Dan Harrison. I'll have a full kind of tribute video to Dan go up on my site here in a day or two. But before I left, I'd gotten a letter which may very well have been on Dan's last day. Dan sadly has left the bonds of this earth and moved on to hopefully a better place for him. For my friend, I am saddened and relieved all at the same time. I'm relieved for him that he's now free of the pain and suffering that he's been going through for the longest time. I was in touch with him pretty much every day. And then on my cruise, I did not hear from him. And I mean, we don't have any way to really know for sure. We're trying to do some confirmation, but some friends, people that are connected to him in the UK without direct access to him still have given us the news that Dan has passed on. And, you know, he's a really one of the best people I've met, not just doing this, but in the world. The man was truly altruistic. The things he'd gone through in his life, to be able to put together a network like he did at Let's Talk Sports, to do some of the things that he did helping people. And there are some plans to further that work, and we'll get into that in the coming weeks. But please say a prayer for Dan and his siblings, who are also disabled people. I know I'm not supposed to use that word, but I'm sorry. I don't have another one to use, who Dan really took care of. So our prayers go out to them as well. And Dan was a great guy. I enjoyed working with him. And we'll continue with Let's Talk Sports as the boys over there try to keep Dan's dream alive. And I'm sure that they will do a great job of it. And there'll be more news to come about that type of stuff going forward. And Dan will always be part of this show. You will hear me say at the beginning, maybe at the end. And if I forget, it's my mistake. DDH for Dan Dave Harris will be my moniker for him. Do you hear me say DDH? It's for you, Dan, because I know Dan's watching. Dan was worried about being forgotten. He will never be forgotten. He was a character, had great character, and he'll never be forgotten. I enjoyed working with him, and he was a great supporter of my work. And he said some really, great things to me. I won't get into them here, but I'll miss him. Godspeed, Dan Harris. Anyway, let's get on to the business of the night. College football. Oh my God. By the way, Mario Cristobal, just kneel on the clock. What is wrong with these people? He had a similar incident at Oregon. Oh my God. We're going to get into some of that. We'll get into the scores from last week. We'll get into some news around the league, as I said, and let's jump right into last week's top 25 scores and kind of give some critiques. And if things come up that you want to jump on, any topics, any comments, anything you want to talk about, you just want to express your condolences for Dan Harris, that's all well and good too. It feels free to put a little tribute in the remarks, and I'll put that up there for you. Good evening to Mr. Rick Sherlock. Good to have you back on our first show. Very sorry to hear about Dan. As am I, good man. And he'll be part of these shows, I guarantee you, because I have these. I don't want to get into it. It'll sound weird. But a good man, and he'll be missed, believe me. Last week's scores. Some interesting stuff. I will say this. Georgia, in my mind, finally puts together a complete game since Rick is the first one to make a comment tonight. We'll start with his Georgia Bulldogs. Great effort last week, I thought. Complete game. Beck played really well, threw for over 300 yards, I think, in the first half against Kentucky. A ranked Kentucky team, an undefeated Kentucky team. I thought they ran the ball better than they have. Bowers caught over 100 yards receiving again and another touchdown, puts himself at least on the peripheral of the Heisman conversation. Great player. This guy is going to play. This guy's going to play for a long time on Sundays. The week before, I don't want to say single-handedly because Beck had to get him the ball, but he was probably most responsible for the victory they had 2 weeks ago over Auburn. So last week, a lot of questions. Should Georgia still be number one? Well, yes. And in my mind, until they get beat, they should be number one. And if they had continued to play mediocre football, and some of the teams behind them that are playing good football, like Oklahoma, like Washington, like Michigan, although Michigan's not been tested in my mind, and they won't be tested most likely until they play Ohio State. But a good game for Georgia all the way around, I thought. Bowers, by the way, 7 receptions, 132 yards, and another touchdown. Beck, 389 yards, 4 touchdowns, interception. They got to run the ball better and more consistently, but these guys have what it takes. The defense played much better as well. This is a Kentucky team that likes to pound the football. They did a very good job, I thought, holding Davis, one of the best running backs in the country, to 59 yards rushing and no touchdowns. So Notre Dame puts up another stinker. They barely got away from losing to Duke after giving away a game against Ohio State when we'd last spoken. And let me get, I see a comment from Rick about Georgia before I move on. Georgia is rounding into form. The young players are learning and should be ready for the playoffs. They showed the people who left. Well, listen, true fans don't leave, number one. I'm not even a fan. I picked them to three-peat. I would have jumped off that bandwagon if I didn't believe kind of what Rick is saying here now. Kirby Smart has earned the right to work his way into the season. They really, look were they close to losing to Auburn? Auburn, they could have lost that game. Never felt to me like they were going to lose that game. Never. Cover, thank you. But in any event, Georgia. But Rick, I will tell you this: there are some really good football teams out there, and they should get to the playoff. The SEC is not that good. I don't know where my boy John DeLon is. Don't show up at 8:20 because I'm off at 8:30 to get on with Robert Butler. The SEC is not as good, which will work in Georgia's favor. We can also hurt the SEC because it's possible a one-loss Georgia team, if they should lose in a championship game, to say LSU with 2 losses or Alabama with 2 losses, which is possible. They will play each other. LSU already has 2 losses. They lose to LSU or Bama with 2 losses, then maybe the SEC gets nobody. We'll see. Lots to talk about. I'll remind everybody of my picks, which are all looking still very good halfway through the season here. Almost halfway through the season. Anyway, Notre Dame puts up another stinker. Again, after barely... The hell is that? That sounds like a drum, though, doesn't it? Hold on. We can put the silencer on that sucker. It's Nick Saban back in the mix for the Nobody wants to hear Greeny talk about Nick Saban. I'll talk about Nick Saban. Louisville beats Notre Dame 33-20. Hartman throws a couple interceptions, a couple touchdowns, but 3 interceptions. Louisville plays good on both sides of the football. Look out. 6-0 Louisville jumped big this week. I think they moved up to, we'll get to the rankings in a little bit, but I think they moved up to like 14. Miami, we just touched on. They lose it. I mean, a game you can't possibly give away, they gave away. Leading in the final seconds, literally, of this game, all you need to do is kneel on the football 2 times, 3 times, Mario, and get out of there. Why are you running the football? Miami, year after year, continues to shoot themselves in the foot. This team could have controlled its own destiny, as Florida State controls its own destiny, in the ACC, and maybe a path to the playoff. Now, they can still get to the ACC championship game. They can still win it. One loss in Miami is not getting into the playoff. Well, look at some of the one-loss teams that are still alive. There's only a couple that are still alive. Probably Bama and Texas are the only one-loss teams alive. Who we got here? Sports news update. Game will be streamed on. Well, thank you for that. I don't know what games, but thank you for the update there, sports news update. I believe one of the groups I share to is Sports News Update, and thank you for allowing me to share. Thank you to all the groups that allow us to share. Let's move on. Michigan. Listen, Michigan's looking really good. J.J. McCarthy with another efficient game. Corum. Not a great game, but 69 yards. They beat a decent Minnesota team on the road, 52-10. Now, still not tested. I get it. But they're the team blowing everybody away. By the way, Penn State, we'll get to Penn State in a second. Oklahoma and Texas in a thrilling game, I thought. Great goal line stand by Oklahoma late in this game. Actually, they had a couple of them late in the game that was the one that stands out. Then maybe a Heisman moment for Gabriel as he leads his team down to a game-winning touchdown. Excuse me. Game-winning touchdown. They beat Texas 34-30 in the Red River rivalry. These teams very well may meet again in the Big 12 championship. Oklahoma now, listen, again, a team that controls its own destiny. They win out. They're in the playoff. They're guaranteed in the playoff. And let's not forget, Keith's picks. Georgia. I didn't pick a winner. Oh, I did pick a winner. Georgia, 3-peat. Georgia. Ohio State. A lot of work to do there, although we'll talk about them in a second. Oklahoma. Unranked when I picked them, by the way. Unranked. And Florida State. Not bad so far. Anyway, Oklahoma just had a thrilling victory. We'll talk more about that later. Ohio State 37-17 over Maryland. This game was closer than this. This game was a one-score game going into the fourth quarter. Maryland played well early and faded. McCord played efficient football again. I think he's done a good job at quarterback for Ohio State. We just need a game manager there. They need a game manager. It's not a we thing. With the receivers they have, Marvin Harrison goes off for 8 catches, 163 yards, and really saves Ohio State's bacon. Are they that good? The good thing is their defense, much, much better. Similar now, and I got to say this, Rick, similar to Georgia, Ohio State is growing into this team. McCord, remember, raw. So they're growing into this team as it goes on. So, there's still Michigan and Penn State to worry about. Penn State, though, we'll get to them. Penn State, the problem is Penn State is, I read this today, 116th in the country. That's out of 133 teams, I believe, in plays of 20 yards or more. That's not good. Now, again, they haven't had to use anything. Maybe they're saving those plays. But Alar's only, he's only attempted 4 passes over 20 yards all year long. Florida State, after struggling early with Virginia Tech, pulls away, wins 39-17. I would say Travis maybe hurting his own Heisman stock here. We're loaded with quarterbacks and Brock Bowers as Heisman candidates. When you're competing against Gabriel and Penix and Williams and Cameron Ward, just to mention a few, Bo Nix, you can't afford 170 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not in these days. Back in the day, that would have been a great game for a quarterback. Winning 39-17 would have enhanced your Heisman resume. And Dylan Gabriel had a Heisman moment, leading his team to a last-second touchdown and a victory. Heisman voters remember those things. In that 3:30 window, that will be. I'm sorry, that was a 12 o'clock game, wasn't it? Yeah, 12 o'clock game. Sorry. Anyway, people are going to remember that moment. Now, maybe the thing that'll work against them, it happened so late. And the fact that these teams may play again. Sorry about my cough. USC is going to get beat. Their defense is still terrible. A game Arizona team has played well at home, bad on the road. Second week in a row, they have a close call. They've got to go to overtime, multiple overtimes, to hold on 43-41 against this team. They were very lucky to convert a 2-1 conversion to win this game. And Arizona didn't. That's a week after, we talked about the fact that Colorado should have been wiped off the planet against USC. And USC was in the process of doing that in Boulder, and they let them back in the game, and they were an onside kick away from getting beat. USC is going to get beat. And it's going to be Washington, Oregon. One of those teams may come out of the Pac-12. It's not going to be USC. This defense is no better than it was. Coaching helped players improve and grow. I still contend that the Notre Dame coaching staff is hurting the team. Again, here's the thing, though, Rick. I don't disagree, but coaches need to grow as well. Kirby Smart was not Kirby Smart we see today in his first year, 2 years at Georgia. Yeah, you, I think, would be free to admit that. Nick Saban, early in his career, wasn't Nick Saban that we've known for the last 2 decades, decade and a half. You have to grow into these things. And Notre Dame, that coaching staff is learning. It's inexcusable to have 10 men on the field, 2 plays in a row against Ohio State. It's probably inexcusable not to be able to put Duke away 2 weeks ago. It's a good football team. But Notre Dame had plenty of chances to put them away, and then they give this game away against Louisville. But Notre Dame, by the way, is not known for pulling the trigger quickly on coaches. Marcus Freeman can struggle. Marcus Freeman did a great job rebounding with his team last year. Notre Dame's not going to pull the plug on him in year 2. They're going to give him time to grow. Remember, this school gave Jerry Faust 5 seasons. His best record was 7 wins. Let's not forget. But I do agree with your comment, Rick. Alan, good evening, Alan. How are you? USC, I feel, could lose 3 times at least. That's going to be difficult. Look, they have enough offense. I mean, they have to play Oregon and they have to play Washington. So they could lose to both of them. I guess they could lose to Utah as well. I mean, they could lose a bowl game. To me, if they're going to get 3 losses, it'll probably come in a bowl game. Now, the offense is good enough and has been good enough to overcome that defense. Problem is, Oregon plays really good defense. I like Washington in that conference. The team I think most likely to beat USC right now would be Oregon. You see a lot. The 2 best teams are playing this weekend. First time, by the way, Oregon and Washington have ever met when they were, and this is the border war. They've been playing for 100 years. First time they've ever met when they both were ranked in the top 10. What you got here, Rick? No more cruise ships for you. You have to come home sick for 3. I have. No, I didn't come home sick. I've got a little cough today. It's these planes. It's not the cruise ships. Freaking planes. I mean, 2 different planes, all the way down, all the way back. I got people hacking all over me. Ugh. Anyway, we just got a little cough. We'll be all right. Good. Thank you, though, Rick, for calling me out there. Caden Cordell. Hi, how are you? Caden's looks like a new viewer, hopefully with some contribution to make. I hope, Caden, let us know where you're from, who your team is. Got your high the first time. Thanks. Who we got here? I got somebody else here. I missed. Alan just got here. What do you got here? I missed something here. Oregon, Washington, and Utah. Yeah, well, Utah's at USC this time, don't forget. It's not in Utah. I think that'll make the difference in that game. I can see them losing to both Oregon and Washington. I can also see them outscoring both those teams, though. That's the thing. You just got, listen, exciting. One of the great college football games of this season. Do I think it was a classic? No, but it was a classic for this year. I thought both teams played well. Oklahoma, who again, Alan, I picked to win the Big 12 on their way out the door and to make the Final Four, don't forget. Your Oklahoma Sooners, congratulations. Played great on defense. That the goal line stand near the end of the game, huge. And the Dylan Gabriel that's a Heisman moment. Problem is, it was on a 12 o'clock window, and they're probably going to play again, and that play will not be remembered like some others might have been, like Flutie's pass in 82 or 84 against the Hurricanes, and plays like that, because it happened too early in the season. But a great play, great team effort. Brent Venables did a great job turning things around there. And he's been a little, under some stress. So another Georgia fan in Caden Cordell. Congrats to your Georgia Bulldogs. As I said, we talked about a couple times before you joined. They finally put a complete game together, ran Kentucky right off the field, and solidified their number 1 ranking. And I still think they will win their 3rd in a row. Time will tell. Go Dogs. Do you think? Listen, I have picked Georgia to win the Natty. Caden. I did pick Florida State to make the Final Four. I picked Oklahoma to make the Final Four. An unranked Oklahoma team. Thank you very much. They aren't there yet. I'm already tooting a little too loud, probably. And Georgia. So I do like Georgia to win a third consecutive national championship. Something Nick Saban has never done. The greatest coach of all time, by the way. Sorry, Georgia fans. The Okie has returned. Al's got a new job, by the way, Alan. Congratulations. I don't know what it is. Don't want to pry, but if you want to share, I know you've moved from nights at, I think, working a Walmart warehouse to something different. And I hope it's something you like. I know it's better hours, and we're glad to see you with us. So if you want to share, be happy to share with our audience, which is some of your audience as well. Alan contributes a lot to the Let's Talk Sports network, as you all know. And when I talked about Dan Harris at the top of the show, I think Alan would say the same thing as I said about him helping young people get started in this type of business. If they have a passion for it, he would help them out. And I think Alan can speak volumes about that. Alan's talked about Stark kicking a field goal at the end and got him some flack, but after the goal line's in, I can understand why. Yeah. The special teams were a little shaky, I thought, in that game on both sides of the football. Rick talks about special teams a lot. Sometimes special teams look bad because the other special teams are playing well, but I thought special teams on both sides of the football were maybe the only thing lacking in this game today. Went from nights to morning, afternoon at the Hobby Lobby. Well, good for you. Man, hours and quality of life is important, buddy. So I'm glad for you. What do you got here? Your playoff predictions and scores. I'm not going to give you scores. I gave you the four. I can't. It's too hard at this point. It's too hard at this point, Caden, to give you any more than the four. I gave you my winner. I'll tell you who it's hard because I don't know who's going to play who. It's impossible really to figure that out at this point. But I'm going to say Georgia plays Oklahoma in the final. We'll say that. And as I say, Georgia wins the game. I think it'll be something like we saw in the Red River rivalry. We'll call it 34-30, Georgia. Georgia, Oklahoma, Oregon, Penn State. Listen, Penn State, I'm not getting off James Franklin's back. This team, somehow they're rolling up a lot of points. Again, inferior competition without any big plays. 113th in the country. There's only 133 teams, guys, in FBS. 113th in plays over 20 yards. Alar has attempted 4 passes over 20 yards. You have to have explosive plays when you go play Michigan and you go play Ohio State. They could be just laying in the weeds. But I've seen this movie before. And I'm not buying into the James Franklin Penn State hype until now their defense is great. So maybe they can get away with not running those and having explosive plays and just ground and pound. Manny Diaz has done a great job there. Manny Diaz is probably going to be having a shot at another head coaching job here in the very near future. He's done a great job, forced out of Miami because of Mario Cristobal becoming available. Not a good look for Miami, by the way, as I said at the time. Louisville has a chance to win the Natty next year, in your opinion. Listen, Jeff Brom's done a great job finally coming home to his alma mater. It's an exciting football football team. It's the best football team they've had there since Lamar Jackson's junior year, I would say, or sophomore year. He might have left after his junior year. It's a tremendous football team. They moved up 11 spots. They're 14. We'll go through the poll in a second, and I'll talk about some teams that are still in play, even one-loss teams that are still in play for the playoff. But Louisville's good now, so let's not discount them. We're going to go through the conferences too. 6-0. That's where Miami screwed up, man. Miami controlled their own destiny. Oh, man. If you didn't hear me at the top, I wore my U shirt tonight so that I could show that Mario Cristobal is not the only guy who can make an idiot of himself before a large audience. Yikes. Let me get through the rest of these scores here. UCLA beats Washington State at home. UCLA really good defensively. 25-17 over the previously red-hot Cougars. Cougars dropped way back in the poll, which we'll get to. I think they dropped like 6 spots. Notre Dame drops 11 spots, by the way. I'm a little surprised they stayed in the poll. North Carolina playing great football. Drake May getting forgotten in some of these other quarterbacks we talk about out west, and Nix and Penix and Williams and Cameron Ward. Drake May, 3 touchdowns, 442 yards. They kill Syracuse 40-7. Oregon State continues to play good ball, 5-1, 52-40. Another team in the Pac-12 that is a spoiler. Arkansas and Mississippi play a close one. Ole Miss does win 27-20. LSU, listen, Missouri's got a really good team this year. They fall out of the top 25 with this loss, but a game effort. The defenses on both of these schools were not existent. 49-39 LSU. LSU's not going anywhere. If LSU gets to the SEC, this is why I say, if Bama keeps winning and gets there and beats Georgia, we will probably have an SEC representative. If LSU, or even if Alabama loses to LSU during the regular season and gets to the final and beats Georgia, you could have no SEC representative, depending on how everything falls in these other conferences. And Fresno State also falls out of the top 25, losing to really tough, especially at home, Wyoming, 24-19. Let me just run through a couple. I'm going to look through. I want to see what other scores were of interest to us around the league real quick. We'll look through. We like to get the military academies, their representation. Nebraska, by the way, gets a win on the road against a bad Illinois team. They do get to 3-3 in Matt Rule's first season. Oklahoma State badly needed a win over Kansas State. We already talked about all these games. Scroll down. Army loses a close one to BC, 27-24. Wisconsin, they're too close against Rutgers, 24-13. Rutgers has played game football except for against Michigan. NC State beats a really good Marshall team. Marshall had one of the best defenses coming into this game. NC State goes for 48 against them in this game. One of my teams close to my heart, UTSA, Texas San Antonio, beats Temple. Northwestern, again, another win. They're even. They beat Howard. Iowa, another, I'm sure, exciting game, 20-14. Brian Ferentz is not going to keep his job. He's not going to average 25 points a game. Wake Forest, suffering through a tough season so far, loses a close one to Clemson, 17-12. Navy wins 27-24 over North Texas. Let's see what other games of interest we have. Any games you guys are interested to talk about? Throw them out there. Kansas bounces back after a tough loss to Texas. Beats UCF 51-22. By the way, UCF the week before, while I was off last week, UCF had one of the meltdowns of all time, blowing a 35 or 36-point lead in the fourth quarter to Baylor, who's not a good football team. UAB and Trent Dilfer win 56-35 over South Florida. UConn gets a win finally for Jim Mora. They were winless in 5 games. They get their first win against Rice. Any other games here? TCU and Iowa State. Nice win for Iowa State, 27-14. And again, the TCU now, that Colorado game doesn't look so good now, does it? It doesn't. Not to me. Utah State beats Colorado State. And then Boise on the blue turf beats San Jose State. So that's last week's games. The polls, as we talked about before, really a lot of movement around this poll. And we'll get into this here real quickly. Georgia maintains 4 teams get first place votes. Georgia, I believe, extended its lead over Michigan, both at 6-0 now. 51st place votes for Georgia, 11 for Michigan, 1 for Ohio State, 1 for Florida State. They're all undefeated. Ohio State and Florida State both move up 1 with the losses of Texas, obviously. I guess just Texas falls out of the top 4. Oklahoma moves up 7 spots right outside that number 4 spot to number 5. Penn State's right behind them at 6. Washington at 7. Oregon at 8. Texas at 9. USC at 10. Bama back to 11. Don't sleep on Bama. Nick Saban, this is not a classic Alabama team. We know that. But Nick Saban is the greatest college football coach of all time. North Carolina, 12. They could make noise in the ACC. The ACC, one of these teams, Florida State, North Carolina, Louisville, run the table. You might have a representative from the ACC. Maybe one not named Florida State. Ole Miss moves up 3 spots to 13. We said Louisville jumps 11 spots all the way to 14. Oregon State stays where they were. Utah up 2 to 16. Duke 17. They're up 2. UCLA with a big jump. Not ranked last week. Fell out of the poll. And they're moved all the way up to 18 with that great victory over Washington State, who falls below UCLA, drops 6 spots in this poll to number 19. Tennessee up 3. I guess you're tied for 19 the way this reads. Notre Dame is trying to hang in there, drop 11 spots to 21. LSU, not a good LSU. LSU has got to be one of the most disappointed fan bases in the country, and we'll touch on that if we have time tonight in a little bit. Kansas 5-1, not rated last week in the top 25. I believe they were in, but fell back out when they lost to Texas. Kentucky drops 4 spots, stays in the top 25. Miami, I can't tell you what an awful loss. They lost on the Flutie Miracle 40 years ago. This might be the worst loss in Miami history. Miami team, again, could have made a surprise run to the ACC title game. If they got there undefeated and won, all bets are off. This game against Georgia Tech will cost them. They have 0 shot now at a national championship. Teams that fell out, Missouri and Fresno State, and teams just outside the top 25, Missouri, obviously. Wyoming getting ready to break that barrier. Air Force playing really good football, very close as well as some others. So some interesting stuff there. I want to look at some other news here. What did we have? The Speaking of LSU, one thing that is not I will not make fun of, and we'll send our best wishes to their great defensive back Greg Brooks, an All-American who's got a rare form of brain cancer. And Brian Kelly said the other day that a fund that was set up to support him has gone well over 6 figures in donations. I did have surgery last month to remove a mass, so our best wishes go out to Brooks and his family, obviously. Alabama, who cannot afford injuries to anybody, in my mind. I don't think they're as deep as anywhere near as deep as they've been in the past. They lose Malachi Moore. And he's going to be out at least, looks like, a game. Mark Stoops. Rick, you might have some comments on what Mark Stoops had to say after they got whooped. And listen, I love Mark Stoops. I think he's a great coach, one of the underrated coaches in the game. Can't say this after the game. You can't go to Georgia, get beat by 40-plus points, and say, I guess they bought some pretty good players. Not a good look, Mark. Not a good look. They're playing within a system that's there. Travis Hunter, the two-way player for Colorado, could play Friday against Stanford. Big piece of that Colorado team. A Heisman candidate before he got hurt. Probably not likely that he can jump back into this race, but it'll be good to see him get back on the field because he is an exciting player to watch. If you're a football fan, you want to see guys like Travis Hunter play at 100%. Jalen Daniels, again, Kansas's great quarterback, is doubtful against Oklahoma State. He got banged up again. He's had some lingering back issues. He's been in and out of the lineup, and Kansas is just a different team when he plays. This is a top 15 team maybe when he plays, but doesn't play enough. It's going to hurt him and his chances of going up to the next level as well. What about the teams that are left undefeated? There's 14 teams left undefeated. We'll see how we think about these, what you guys think about how these teams stack up. I'm going to go by ESPN's ranking of them, and then we'll comment. Liberty, by the way, in Jamie Chadwell's first year there after leaving Coastal Carolina, for really a lateral move in my mind. I'm not really sure why he went to Liberty, but he's got him 5-0. And they're probably the 14th best of these unranked teams. You can argue that James Madison maybe could fall into that, but James Madison has done a really, really good job in their 2 years now on the FBS level. Their coach is not going to be there very long if they keep this up. So, really good team. Again, not playing in one of the top-rated conferences, but a really good football team. What's Rick got here? Didn't we look in a few weeks ago and see that Georgia has one of the lowest NILs? I think we did, Rick. I don't know if we can find that. Let's look real quick. Even if it's true, Mark Stoops has got to shut up. And again, I'm saying that about a guy I like. Let's see. College football teams by NIL. Let's see what we got here. We'll look at the top 10 collectives. There's some interesting stuff in here, by the way, too, because there's a team in here with another guy who talks a lot about it. West Virginia. Ole Miss. Lane Kiffin talks a lot about people getting bought, too. They got one of the biggest collectives. Arkansas. Haven't noticed anything so far about these teams? They aren't winning. USC. Florida State. Miami. I'm surprised Miami's only number 5. Texas. Now, this isn't really how the money's been spent, right? These are the teams with the biggest collectives, the people who've got, they've got the most to work with. Oregon, Texas A&M, shocked there. Tennessee. I don't see any of these teams winning national championships, guys. Does NIL equal winning? See if I can find anything else that shows me where Georgia ranks. College football. Here we go. There's another one I found, Rick. This is players. Who do you suppose the highest guy, the top paid guy in NIL monies is? If I told you it was Shedeur Sanders, would you be shocked? Because I am. $4.8 million is his NIL valuation. Arch Manning, 2.8. Caleb Williams, 2.7. Caleb Williams may very well stay in school because he will make more money than he can on a rookie contract in the NFL. Travis Hunter, 2.3. J.J. McCarthy, 1.4. Spencer Rattler, 1.4. Money well spent, guys. South Carolina, get your head out of your butt and give your money to somebody worthwhile. Bo Nix, 1.4. Evan Stewart from Liberty, 1.3. Michael Penix, 1.3. A lot of money being spent here. Sam Hartman, 1.1. Dylan Gabriel, 1.2. That's enough. I was hoping to get teams, but no. Anyway, that's enough for that, I guess. So there you see. NIL does not equal, a lot of NIL money available does not equal winning football games or championships. Anyway, we're looking at the unbeatens here, weren't we? Wasn't I? Where are they? Air Force, a very sneaky team. They'll be in the top 25 before long. Not going to challenge for a national championship. 5-0 in a very underrated Mountain West. I say that all the time. There's a lot of good football teams out west there. They're at number 12. Louisville. I might move them up a little bit. We'll see who's ahead of them. 6-0. Louisville, the ranked number 11. North Carolina, 5-0. I'll keep North Carolina definitely ahead of Louisville. USC, all the way down at 9. 6-0. Florida State at 8. 5-0. Penn State. I'm moving Penn State down. I'm moving Penn State down and Florida State and USC ahead of them. Haven't played anybody. We just talked about their lack of explosiveness. Great defense. Manny Diaz doing a great job. Is it smoke and mirrors? Are they laying in the weeds? We're going to find out on the 21st of October when they play Ohio State. Sooners, 6. Got to go higher. Although Washington, Oregon, 4 and 5. I'm going to drop Ohio State. I like them a lot. But right at this point, and again, I still like them to get to the playoff. At this point, I'm putting them behind Oregon. I'm putting them behind Washington. And I'm putting them behind Oklahoma. Two, Georgia. And number 1, Michigan. Well, I'm going to flip-flop Georgia and Michigan just because. Now, again, we're talking about the best teams. Again, is Oklahoma the best team in the country? No, but they're the number 1 team in the country, and they stay number 1 until they get beat. Right? Up until now, they have not been the best team. Rick won't argue with me, I don't think. They're a work in progress, and the progress is looking very good. Got a couple comments here. You won't hear any Georgia players. Let me go back. Do I still have that list up? Hold on. Did I get rid of it altogether? I think I did. No, I still got it here. Let's see how long it takes me to find a Georgia player. Let's see, can I control search? Can I control F here? Control F. Georgia. Let's see what we can find, Rick. If this is correct, I'm just going to scroll through here and make sure. I'm down into 20, still no Georgia. There's a couple Alabama guys at 24 and 25. First Georgia guy is Carson Beck, $791,000. Number 26. Brock Bowers, 705. He's at 41. And that might be guys from Texas A&M. Oh my God. They have two guys in the top 75. Three guys in the top 100. Tate Rutledge, what is he? He's a linebacker, I believe, $503,000. Oh, sorry, missed another guy. Malachi Starks is at 492. So they got four in the top 100. I'll bet you anything Texas A&M has got 10 guys. Now, I didn't see a lot of Kentucky guys there either, to be fair, but Mark Stoops still got to be quiet. You got your ass kicked. Shut up, right? CA, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight as we return from vacation. Try to get back in the swing of things here. What time is it? We can't go long tonight because we got Robert Butler. We got to jump on at 8:30. Rob Logan's here with us. Rob says Oregon is the team to beat in the Pac-12. Who is your team? Are you an Oregon fan, Rob, or is this just your pick? And who do you root for? You can see I am standing in solidarity, excuse me, with Mario Cristobal, so I can prove that he is not the only moron that can make a fool of himself in front of a bunch of people. I'm here to prove otherwise. But Oregon's really good. And Oregon's defense, here's the thing I think sets them apart. Washington and Oregon are look very close, very similar on paper. I think to this point, Oregon's defense has been better. We got to look at the competition, right? I mean, also we look at, by the way, we were looking at the polls before. You know, these top 10 teams, everybody's had a test except Michigan. Georgia's had a test. Michigan's had a test, and hasn't had a test. Ohio State had a test with Notre Dame. Florida State, couple of them. Oklahoma, untested till last week, came out pretty well. Penn State, not really tested either. Washington, I would say they've been tested. They're going to be tested this weekend. Oregon went to Texas Tech and won. Texas beat Alabama. USC, maybe they may be unproven. Alabama, listen, they lost their big test to Texas, right? But that's not a conference loss. Don't forget. North Carolina, still to be tested. Ole Miss has been tested. I started looking at teams that I think can win this. How many teams can legitimately win this? I'll get back to your comments real quick, and you can put comments up about that. How many teams you think can win this? Georgia can win it. Michigan can win it. And maybe I shouldn't say win it. Can make the playoff. 4. Michigan, Georgia, Ohio State, Florida State, Oklahoma, I'll reluctantly say Penn State, Washington, Oregon, Texas, USC, Alabama, North Carolina, Ole Miss. Ole Miss and Alabama, I think, are the 2 one-loss teams with a shot at getting to the playoff. I could say Louisville, because if they run the table, they could make the playoff. I probably got to shut it down there, though. That's 13 teams still alive for the 4 spots. Now imagine if we were going for 12. There'd be quite a race for that 5th or that 6th locked in spot, the highest ranked conference winners. There'd be quite a race for that 6th spot amongst a group of 5 teams. He said Jim Moore Sr. Famous quote is, by the way, something Jim Moore Jr. is not saying is, he probably is saying this because that team's never sniffing the playoffs. Oh, God. Oregon is a team to beat in the Big 12. Did you ever say that? Or Pac-12? Listen, it's a good team. That's what I started talking about. Best defense, I think, of the teams. Again, this is a really good conference. I mean, right now, in my mind, this is the best conference in football. Depth-wise, you got great teams in Oregon, Washington, and USC without any defense. You got really good teams in Oregon State and Washington. That's 5 really, really good teams. And I think the teams at the top are better than the teams in the SEC right now. That's the only thing, Rob, and they do it every year. Whenever they're good, the Pac-12 cannibalizes itself, and that's why they don't get a team in the playoff. Next year, they won't have to worry about that. Bowers is a beast. But I got to tell you, there's a guy, last 2, he's carrying that team. 3 times this year, I've really watched Georgia play and watched Brock Bowers play. First of all, he's got a great name, great sports name. He's going to play on Sundays for a long, long time. He is a great player. He's got a nose for the football, a nose for the end zone. And he makes plays at crunch time. He wants the ball. That's my pick. I'm sorry. Sorry, Rob. Clemson's on its way down. You know what? Here's the thing about Clemson. I'm not a fan, as we all know. And Rob, you've been there to watch me long enough to hear me rant enough about the NIL, the transfer portal. But it's a reality. It's what we live in now, right? I can't go back to, 1985. I can't get rid of, NIL transfers, league realignment. I can't get rid of it. So I got to live with what I got. And so does Dabo Swinney. And Dabo Swinney will not embrace the transfer portal the way he needs to. And it's really hurt this team now in the last 2 or 3 years because they have not been able to replace the top talent that they let go, where other teams have been able to do that. And not just through recruiting. The transfer portal, I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of guys going through that transfer portal every year. Maybe 1,000. I'd have to look up the number, but it's huge. And Dabo just refuses to dive into that pool. Now, it's one thing to stick to your principles, but if you want to stay the coach of a major college football team, you're probably going to have to hold your nose and dive in. Just one man's opinion. CA with a little baseball update for us. Watching the playoffs, Twinkies going to the bullpen from after the second tied. By the way, we'll get into this Sunday. Brian Schneider for the Blue Jays got to get fired. I don't want to get into this now. We'll get into it Sunday on the Stream of Consciousness, but Brian Schneider's got to get fired for losing that series the way he lost it. Sorry. Can't wait for the expansion for the playoffs. It'll be fun. It'll be fun. You know, I'm a purist. A lot of the things I hate in college football, some of it I'm hypocritical about, I suppose, because expanding the playoff certainly is getting away from tradition. But I do think the way things are going, have gone, we need to have 12 teams. I advocated for 16, as we know. John DeLon is not with us, at least not yet tonight. It is not a participation trophy tournament at that point in time because you're giving it all to legitimate contending teams. Okay. Ugh. But I agree with you, Rob. I can't wait myself. I wish I'd gone to 16. I can't talk about my plan or I'll get sued by Basement Bob again. Glad you're all back from vacation. Me too. And had a great time. We did have a great time. I got to tell you, the weather was great. It's hot. It was as humid as I ever remember in October. We were in the Western Caribbean, and every place we were, Honduras was like 94 degrees and really, really humid. So we spent a lot of time on a balcony where we could get a nice breeze and enjoy ourselves. So it was a good time. Thank you. Pac-12 agreed. Yes. Well, the cannibalization won't hurt them so much when they have 12 teams because your winner's going to get there, right? Whether they can get multiple teams in will be a different story. He is a great blocker. Good point. Bowers does do it all. He reminds me of Gronkowski a little bit. I think he's a bit smaller. I don't know his exact size. Looking at him on the TV, he looks smaller than Gronk. Hopefully he's healthier than Gronk, but he reminds me a lot of Gronk. Yes, CA, we talked a little bit about this, or a lot about this already. Oregon, and we're going to get into the games this weekend here in just a bit. But Oregon and Washington are the premier games this weekend. There's some other good ones as well. You got USC and Notre Dame. That's going to be an interesting test for USC. And maybe a test of Notre Dame's character a little bit, or the coaching staff's character, to Rick's point earlier. You got Miami and North Carolina. Miami trying to bounce back, and then UCLA and Oregon State. A couple of the games. We'll go through the top 25 here in just a bit. I'll send some messages to the fantasy chat. About what? Oh, football. Right. You kicked my ass this week, by the way. I see you go away. People pick on you. It's Sunday, I said. Alan, we know, is a big Ranger fan. Big Oklahoma fan. Stick with Oklahoma tonight, Alan. Sunday morning, come in. We'll talk Rangers because congratulations to your Rangers getting to the ALCS. I was wrong. I don't want to get into baseball. I don't have time because I got to be off of here on time. But congrats to your Rangers. I was wrong. I've had to say that a lot this year. 6'5", 240. He's a big boy and little smaller than Gronk, I'd say. Good player, man. Good player. So we talked. I still got a little time. We talked about the teams, that are undefeated and how they're ranked. What about the fan bases? Who's got to be the most disappointed of the fan bases this year? Where is that? There we go. And I'm going to miss somebody probably, and I'll go when we go around the conferences quick if I have time. I do want to do that. In fact, we'll do it as we go around we'll go around the conferences real quick, look at the leaders because we're starting to get some games played within a conference, and we'll say who's the most disappointing fan base in that conference. The American Athletic Conference, a lot of new faces in this conference. Some old ones are so far doing the best. Memphis, Tulane, both 4-1 and 1-0 in the conference. If I'm going to say the most disappointed fan base here, UTSA. They're 1-0 in the conference, but they're off to a 2-3 start. Lost 2 games by a point. This is a program that I really like, and I like their coach Jeff Traylor, and he may not be there much longer. But I'm going to say they're the most disappointed fan base. You guys can add this as I go along. any conference you want to talk about. Looking at the Atlantic Coast Conference, we talked about this. This is really going to be a great race, I think. Or, like the Pac-12, a league that cannibalizes itself. Louisville, 3-0, 6-0 overall. Florida State, 3-0, 5-0 overall. North Carolina, 2-0, 5-0 overall. Duke, still unbeaten in the conference. 4-1 overall. You got 3 teams still alive here for potential playoff consideration. Clemson, is Clemson the most disappointing fan base in the ACC? Right now, I'm going to say it's a U, because they control their own destiny. They could have. It's a good football team. Much better offensive planning than they've had in years. But Mario Cristobal just can't manage the clock. And now they can still win the ACC, but no chance at the playoff. Put your comments up, and we'll go through them real quick once I get through here. Big 12, Oklahoma, West Virginia, big surprise in the Big 12, 2-0, 4-1. Oklahoma, again, a surprise for most people. I picked them to win the conference and make the playoff, as did the Homer, Allen. Texas still alive. This is still looking like Oklahoma against Texas in the final to me. Most disappointed, I have to say, maybe any one of the teams coming in who thought they'd do better. Cincinnati, Houston, UCF. UCF blows a 35-point lead 2 weeks ago. But I'm going to go with Texas Tech. A lot of people all over them as being a dark horse in this conference. They're just not done. They're 2-1. But they're 3-3 overall. They were dark horse people talking about them for a playoff spot. Them and probably Oklahoma State, my boy Mike Gundy. Big Ten, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State. The East is really good. Maryland's good. Even Rutgers has played some good football. And the West, again, is going to be race in mediocrity. If you want to look at a disappointing fan base, Michigan State, obviously, with the Mel Tucker situation. But I think Illinois, after showing great promise last year and momentum, I thought, being built by Brent Bielema, 0-3 in the conference, 2-4 overall. I'm going to say Illinois has got to be a disappointed fan base there. Conference USA, Liberty, Jamie Chadwell off to a great start, 6-0, 4-0 in the conference. Western Kentucky's always good. They're 2-0 in the conference. Biggest disappointment, I think, here, disappointing fan base, UTEP. Independence, pretty easy. Notre Dame. 5-2, but they've had a couple. They should be 7-0. Mid-American Conference led by Miami of Ohio and Ohio. Buffalo playing well on one side. Toledo playing really well on the other side. If you're going to look for a team that's a fan base that's a disappointment here, probably going to say the Kent State Golden Flashes. Mountain West, again, I always say very, very underrated. Very underrated. Air Force leading the way at 3-0, 5-0 overall. Wyoming, surprisingly tough, especially at home. Beat Texas Tech. I was called that game in the first week. 2-0, 5-1 overall. Boise State starting to play a little bit better. They're undefeated in the conference, but a disappointing 3-3 overall. UNLV turning it around under their new head coach. Undefeated in the conference, 4-1 overall. Fresno playing well, just dropped out of the top 25, though. And probably, if I'm going to say disappointment, I'm going to say the San Diego State Aztecs at 2-4 and 0-2 in the conference would be the disappointments there. Pac-12, we all know what's going on there. USC sits at the top, but Oregon and Washington will battle it out this weekend. Oregon State and Washington State have already had one of these classic battles. UCLA and Utah's had a big classic battle. UCLA and Washington State. You see these teams kind of ping-ponging around and knocking each other off. So you got to be careful about, as we said, cannibalizing yourselves. So disappointments in this, in this conference. And by the way, Colorado's probably where we thought they'd be. They're 1-2 in the conference, 4-2 overall. 7 wins is still as best they're going to do. Disappointment here? I don't really have one. Everybody's really played to where they probably should have, I think. So I'm not going to give you a disappointment there. Southeast Conference, we know about this. Georgia is in control of the East. They're not going to lose it. There's not another good team. Missouri's the best team outside of Georgia, probably in the East. In the West, you got Alabama, LSU, and Ole Miss going to battle it out. And even Texas A&M still alive on that side with only 1 loss. Alabama undefeated in the conference. Disappointment in the SEC. Razorbacks 0-3, 2-4 overall. Mississippi State 0-3, 3-3 overall after the tragic death of their coach last season, Mike Leach. So they're probably the 2 biggest disappointments. Maybe you can throw South Carolina in there as well. Sun Belt, James Madison and Troy are the best 2 teams in this conference. Texas State is surprised. Baylor already. Excuse me. If I got to come up with a disappointment, it's probably Coastal Carolina, 3-3, 1-2 in a conference. Quarterback came back, and they've really fallen flat. And that's it for the conferences. So let's see what kind of comments you guys have on what we talked about here, if anything. It's Rick. Yeah, you're no baseball. Notre Dame, ask Kenny. No, Notre Dame, Notre Dame should be disappointed. Notre Dame should be 7-0. Absolutely. They should have beat Ohio State. That game was in hand. I'm disappointed in the coaches, as Rick said. I do think Marcus Freeman is going to be a very good football coach. I think he's got all the makings of a very good football coach. He's learning on the job, though. When your first big coaching job is Notre Dame, a lot of pressure there. And, they didn't handle that very well either, because first they were making excuses that, before they admitted they didn't know there was 10 men on the field. They said they knew, and they decided to go with 10 because it was better than giving up 6 inches. And then, to me, they were just never in that game against Louisville to me. I'm going to have to ban you, CA. Come on, 6 HRs. Don't hijack the college football show. All right, let's get into this week's matchups. Anything else I wanted to talk about here that I've missed? Coaching blunders. By the way, I talked about this. We just talked about the Notre Dame thing. Mario Cristobal not kneeling last week, stupid. Jimbo Fisher calling a timeout, or not Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher in the Alabama game, calling timeout before he kicks a field goal, a timeout he could have desperately used as Alabama was trying to run the clock out. They could have gotten the ball back and had a chance to win that game, but you can't be blowing timeouts. I see an epidemic of this everywhere in the NFL and college football. Coaches and game management, awful. So anyway, that's just something that's got to improve. I don't understand why that the quality of that has dropped so badly. Just not good. This week's games, let's get to them. Top 25. I'll give you my picks. USC is going to go to Notre Dame, 7:00 Saturday night. Notre Dame's a 3-point favorite. You know what I'm doing here, guys? I'm betting the over. The over is only 60. This game's going to be, like 40-35. I think USC will win this game, but I think they're going to have to outscore, and they're going to have to outscore, obviously, everybody. They had outscore Arizona last week at home. I will take USC plus the 3. I'm not betting it. I'm betting over. You can bet me right now. If I get that line at 60.5, I'm betting the over. Probably ought to bet it now. Miami will go to North Carolina, another matchup of top 25 teams. North Carolina is a 3.5-point favorite at home. I'm going to, just because it's just like Miami and North Carolina playing better defense this year. Gene Chizik is finally getting that defense to come around. And the offense we all know is great. Drake May is amazing. He may be in the NFL next year. And he should be the number 1 quarterback coming out. Despite all the other guys, they're all great college quarterbacks. I'm not sure about the next level for a lot of them. But I'm going to take Miami to win this game. I'll certainly take them with the points. Georgia's going to get Vanderbilt, so that should be an easy win for Georgia. Again, Kirby Smart doesn't like to pile it up, but Kirby Smart might want to start thinking about some style points in these games. He's not one to kind of keep the foot on the accelerator. He did a little bit last week, but I think he might want to think about some style points as we get later into this season. Michigan will get Indiana. Tom Allen in trouble on the hot seat at Indiana. This will be a blowout for Michigan. They're a 33-point favorite. They should cover the number. Purdue and Ohio State. Now, Ohio State's a 19.5-point favorite here on the road. I'd be careful here. I think Purdue will keep this game close. Purdue plays well at home. Hasn't been as good as they've been the last couple seasons so far, but I think Ohio State better stay on their toes. They'll win this game. Syracuse about to get blown out for the 3rd straight game. I pray that Dino Babers can win the winnable games after they got Florida State this week on the road. Florida State's going to blow them out of the building. I love Dino Babers. I think he's a great coach. They need to win their winnable games after this because I don't want to see him back on the hot seat after starting 4-0 this year. He started 5-0 or 6-0 last year, then lost 6 in a row. So let's get off that hot seat. Arkansas goes to Alabama. Bama's a 20-point favorite. Arkansas has been playing some close games recently. I think Alabama will win this. Not sure about the number. I'm sure Alabama will win this. I'm not sure about the number. Cal goes to Utah. Utah should win this one for fun. In fact, I may lay the points in this one, 13.5. Massachusetts goes to Penn State. Is Penn State going to play anybody any good this year? Yes. They'll play Ohio State on the 21st of October. This week's schedule, all season long, leading up to Ohio State, is not going to help Ohio State or Penn State's chances. And it's time to start opening up that offense for Penn State. I know maybe they don't want to show their cards, but it's time to get the engine running here. I know they're scoring a lot of points, but you need some explosiveness to beat these other explosive teams. Oregon and Washington in the marquee game of the day, 3:30 time slot, my favorite time slot. This game is on ABC. Washington's a 3-point favorite at home. I know Rob likes Oregon. I got to take the home team here. I like the Huskies. I really like what DeBoer's done at Washington. Not that I don't like what Dan Lanning's done at Oregon, but I just think this is Washington's time. I see them going to 6-0, 3-0 in the Pac-12. We'll see. Going to be a great game. Maybe one I just watch and don't bet. Tennessee will host Texas A&M. Jimbo Fisher. Can Jimbo Fisher survive a 4 or 5 loss season again? I say yes, because again, I know some of my loyal followers here think that the oil money will come up with $77 million to buy him out. I don't see it happening. I think Jimbo Fisher survives no matter what. And because of that $77 million that's going to be owed to him. The highest buyout ever so far that I'm aware of is Auburn buying out Gus Malzone for $21 million. That's a far cry from $77 million. Ugh. Anyway, I like Tennessee in this game. Sorry, Jimbo fans, if there are any. Keep recruiting top 2 classes, top 5, top 2, top 3, top 5, and don't win games. So does buying players help? Does NIL money help? All those teams we talked about with the biggest collectives, what are they winning? Interesting game. Oklahoma State will host Kansas. We just said Daniels will not play for Kansas. I like Oklahoma State +3 at home here because of that. Bit of a disappointment, Oklahoma State so far, 3-2, 1-1 in the Big 12. I think they'll handle Kansas without their top quarterback. Louisville, red hot. Got to be careful of a letdown here. Going to Pittsburgh, who hasn't been very good. Had a conversation with Ralph Williams from the Sports Corner. We talked about our new relationship there as far as cross-promoting and doing some appearances. Ralph Williams, RW Media, Sports Corner with Ralph Williams and Smoking Jim Frazier is on WBVD in Pittsburgh. You can catch them, I think, on Mondays, and he's got a lot of other shows. If you check out RW Media and Ralph Williams, you'll see all of Ralph's stuff. Really good stuff. Stuff outside of sports as well. But we talked a little bit about Pittsburgh and the mediocrity that the Pittsburgh fans seem to settle for these days. Tough spot for Louisville. Be careful going into Pittsburgh off this high of beating Notre Dame last week. This is a trap game. Be careful. I'd be leery of laying 7.5 on the road in this game, but I think Louisville will find a way to win. Arizona will go to Washington State. I think Washington State will get healthy and win a fairly sizable margin here. The game is 8. I like Washington State to cover that number. Auburn and LSU. LSU has not been good. Their defense is terrible, and it's a shame because Jalen Daniels is having a Heisman-type season. A really top-notch Heisman-type season, throwing and running the football, and it's lost because he's not playing on a good defensive football team. LSU 4-2, 3-1 in the SEC. Big game for them. Auburn has given some teams trouble this year. Hugh Freeze is going to take him a little time to turn that thing around, but I think they'll get it together. I'd like LSU to win this game, by the way. Missouri and Kentucky. Kentucky gets coming off that battering by Georgia last week at home. There could be a hangover from that. I like Missouri. Missouri's really played well, except for last week. Tough loss to Missouri. LSU. They played really well, I thought, but couldn't get it done. UCLA and Oregon, another matchup of top 25 teams. I like Oregon State here. At home, UCLA with a big win at home last week. Their defense is really good. Might be able to slow down that Oregon State offense. DJ Ukulele. Sorry, I know it's wrong. After transferring from Clemson, Rob Logan's favorite team, has struggled. He's been up and down, but does have 13 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. And NC State will play Duke. NC State's played, again, very inconsistent football. Armstrong's 6-6 when it comes to touchdowns and interceptions. Some questions about Leonard, the quarterback from Duke, whether he'll play this week. He's played very, very well, running the ball and throwing the ball. If he plays, I like Duke. If he doesn't, watch out for an upset from North Carolina State. Yeah, what do we got here, Rick? Michigan may have to pay big dollars. Yeah, I don't know about Michigan State, rather. First of all, I don't have any sympathy for Mel Tucker. None. Zero. Sorry. Fired for cause. They're not going to pay him any of his contract he's got coming. He's going to sue the university, obviously. But the man, I'm sorry, whether he's guilty or innocent, he's an idiot. I mean, if you're going to try to pursue a relationship, why would it be with the person that the school brings in to counsel or speak to the kids in the program about sexual abuse, sexual harassment? I mean, Mel, maybe she's nuts. It's a he said, she said thing. Maybe. You can't put yourself in the position to be charged with something like this. I'm sorry. I have no sympathy for Mel Tucker in this situation because he's not smart enough to avoid the potential situation. Again, I've worked for companies who have said, if you're accused, I don't care if you're guilty or not, we're firing you. They're not leaving themselves liable. The university was not going to leave themselves liable to lawsuits of their own. Plus, they want to get out from under his big contract without paying him, so they can fire him for cause. So, maybe he's right. Maybe, everything happened the way he says it happened. But he's still a knucklehead for putting himself in that type of situation. Why would you do it? Oh, God. Let's take a quick look. We got about 3 minutes left here. I want to see who I want to go to the ACC. I want to see who some of the other big matchups are. Not big matchups, but good matchups, including our weekly look at the military academies. Stanford, Colorado, big deal. Jesus Christ. Iowa State, Cincinnati, Michigan State. Speaking of them, will go to Rutgers. James Madison gets Georgia Southern. Navy will go to Charlotte. Navy 2 and 3. I'd like to see them turn around. I really think Navy's this close to getting things turned around there. Army's going to play Troy. Another tough game for Army. Army's had some close games. They've been changing their whole offense, as I said several times, throwing the ball a lot more. In fact, their quarterback has probably thrown for more yards already than any Army quarterback in the last 40 years. Wake Forest will play Virginia Tech. 2 disappointing teams in the ACC. 2 disappointing teams in the SEC, and Florida and South Carolina. BYU, TCU. Iowa, Wisconsin, that'll be a boring slugfest. UNLV surprising against really disappointing Nevada. Louisville, as I said, will play Pittsburgh. We already talked about that. Kansas State with badly in need of a win. We'll go to Texas Tech, also badly in need of a win. Wyoming will play Air Force. Is that a Friday night game? It might be. They play a lot of Friday night games. I don't see the day. It looks like it'll be Saturday, I guess. Air Force playing really good football. Calhoun, one of the underrated coaches in college football, by the way. Any other games we like here? Boise State, Colorado State, and San Diego State and Hawaii. Nobody cares. You'd have to pay me to go watch a lot of these games. Good stuff, guys. Good feedback. Thanks, Rick, for your participation. CA, Rob, Alan. Who else is with us here tonight? Who's our new guy? Our new guy, Caden. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for contributing, guys. We'll be here next Wednesday night. We'll go over all of these games we talked about. We'll look at all the news in college football, and we'll be here Sunday. But the big announcement here, I should say, we have a little switch on Friday. Are You Serious will now air at 9 p.m. And I'll be on with Mac and Jack at 8:30. Before that, we'll be live on Facebook. We'll be live on Roku as well. But if you want to comment, you need to be on Facebook or YouTube. So that is the big news there. And then we'll be on Sunday with the Stream of Consciousness. DDH, I said I'll mention you front and back. DDH, you're the man. live on here forever. Guys, we'll see you next week. Have a great night. Keith Engel for TGI Sports Talk's College Football Huddle.
Hey, did you hear the thing that's going on with Jerry Jeudy and Mark Sharaf?
I hadn't heard it.
He said that basically that Jeudy has not done anything since he's been a number 1 draft choice, and that he's awful. I mean,
wow.
And then Jerry said, these old heads is hating, aren't they? And he says, I'm not hating. He said, I got more playoff games than you have you played in games. Man, you hit them low.
I think football fraternity wise, it's good to make a comment on people, but I don't think you need to low rate them or say negative. I don't like
they suck or they're garbage, and that's not right.
Trash and all that type of stuff.
Just like and some of these guys, I mean, they played. How would they feel if somebody said that about them?
Yeah, and J.J. Watt said it best. I heard him do an interview today. He was saying that we all done had a bad game.
Yes,
you can always look at.
I know I have.
Yeah, huh?
I said I know I have.
But my point is, you can always look at somebody's film and you pick a certain player and you say, "Man, he had a bad game," which all of us do. That's part of the game. Yeah, but don't trash each other, man. That's not.
And especially if you're a former player.
Yeah.
Because you know how tough it is to play.
It's tough to play. You playing against the best.
Yeah.
You playing against the best of the best all the time.
And I always talk about Kirk Cousins, but I'm just telling you, he is a coach killer, but it's not I never say he sucks because he's done well.
But one of the things that we can all say is that somebody got the best of us out there on that football.
Oh, no question. I could tell you this story. Jonathan Hayes. When I was playing, we were playing Kansas City. That's the year we won in 15. We weren't very good.
Yeah.
That big old joker blocked me. And then when I got back in the meeting room, my D-line coach was a guy named Butch Davis.
Butch, yeah.
And he said, son, you moving around like you got rocks in your shoes. He says, he killing you. And I was so mad. I put a picture of Jonathan Hayes in my locker. And we didn't play. You remember back then, we didn't play the team for another 2 or 4 years.
Right.
And that picture, I look at that picture every day. And when I played him again, he didn't even know what was going to hit him because I was coming. I was so mad.
You want that revenge.
Yep. I was going to make sure I got him. But you're right. Then that happens. But Kansas City. So I have Kansas City too.
Kansas City. Yeah, Thursday night football.
Yeah. Okay. Sunday. Whoo, this is a hard one. Baltimore at Tennessee.
Baltimore at Tennessee. Oh, they're playing over in London.
Yes.
They're playing over in London. So, man, I just think the Ravens, for some reason, they didn't. I don't know what's happened to them in the second half of the game.
I don't think their defense is as good as they've been in the past.
I think Odell Beckham might be playing this game, so I'm going with the Ravens.
I think he played last game.
Oh, he did? Okay. I'm going with the Ravens on this one.
I'm going to go with the Ravens too.
But Derrick Henry, they said Derrick Henry going to have a good game, so they predicted if he go over 100 yards, it's going to be tough for the Ravens though.
Yeah. And they're not playing as good a defense as they have in the past.
They have. They usually been playing some great defense.
But I'm going to go with the Ravens.
Yeah.
Washington at Atlanta. Interesting game.
Washington at Atlanta. Washington is one of those teams that, since they're on the road, I'm taking Washington. For some reason, they don't look good. They seem like they get too comfortable at home. But I think when they playing on the road, they are a better team. So I think I'm taking the Washington.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Washington, but after Chicago, what Chicago did to them. And I don't know if Atlanta has a receiver that can do that to them.
Yeah, exactly.
Minnesota at Chicago.
Man,
Rick,
this game, I just don't see Chicago beating nobody, but they did this past week. So
yeah,
and they scored 40 points.
yeah.
But I'm going with the Vikings. I
See,
think the Vikings are one of those teams that gonna have a turnaround season. I just for some reason I just think that.
I think I'm gonna go with Chicago.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Chicago on this one. I just think they're starting to move. And Rick went with Atlanta and Minnesota, even without Jefferson. That's your team, Rick.
Yeah, he got to go with Minnesota. So.
Jason,
I'm with you, Rick. I'm with you, Minnesota.
I'm gonna go with Chicago. Because Chicago can run the ball, and they got DJ Moore. He's gonna be a hard out.
Yeah.
Seattle at Cincinnati. This is a good one. I think Cincinnati's starting to come around.
I do too. I just think Joe Burrow is going to get ready to turn that table on a lot of people. I hate to be playing Cincinnati.
Chase had a big game last week. T. Higgins has been beat up.
Yeah. Jamar Chase, yeah, he got off too. So I'm going with Cincinnati.
I'm going to have to take Cincinnati, but I'm a little nervous on that one. Rick went with Cincinnati. San Francisco at Cleveland. Now, there's a possibility that Deshaun Watson is not going to play.
Yeah.
Because he has a bruised rotator cuff. But it don't matter. San Francisco's going to win this game.
Well, I part of meeting Myles Garrett last week, but I had to go out of town. I was going to meet him, and his dad was going to bring him over, and I was going to meet him. They had a week off.
Oh, okay.
So they had a week off. It was on off week. He was in town, but you can't bet against 49ers. So
Rick is picking them. Here's the thing that weird schedule thing. Did you realize the Eagles play the 49ers in Miami and Philly? Both of them.
I didn't realize that.
That's two of the toughest games where the Cowboys play them on the road.
Yeah.
Carolina at Miami. This might be.
Oh man, this might be a game. They might score 70 points, man. Cause did you see that track meet last week?
Yeah.
They be racking it up. They have some highlight tapes.
Maybe needs a massage. Oh.
Yes,
wow, Rick. Rick, we got to get you Carolina, Miami. Yeah, I got to go with Miami.
Yeah, you got to go with Miami.
Tyreek Hill was always wanted to play for the Cleveland Browns. I don't understand that one.
He should have went up there because they need him.
Yeah, but I would I think I'm gonna go with Miami on this.
Oh yeah, Miami.
Here's a good one: Indianapolis at Jacksonville. Now you got to remember, Gardner Minshew got kicked out because of Trevor Lawrence.
I don't care what you say. I'm going with the Jaguar like I did last week. They'll win 2 in a row. So that's what I'm going with.
A tough one. I gotta go with my instincts on it. I haven't been very good, but Minshew is starting, and he's gonna win this game for him. I'm gonna go with Indianapolis.
And a good thing too, Indianapolis defense playing good too, though.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Indianapolis because you got Jonathan Taylor back. They have some receivers. I'm gonna go with Indy. Jacksonville.
I'm going with the Jags. Trevor Lawrence gonna have a 300-yard game.
Ooh, wow. New Orleans at Houston.
You know who I'm going with.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with New Orleans. But it ain't gonna be easy.
Yeah, they 3-2 and 2-3.
Yeah.
And Houston could easily be 3-2 with them. So yeah.
I'm gonna go with New Orleans. What do you got, Rick?
I'm Rick going with New Orleans.
There he goes.
England
at Las Vegas.
New England?
Yes. Patriots.
New England, what did I write about New England? They done scored 3 points in the last 2 games. 3 points. You think I'm going to pick New England? No. I'm going with the Raiders.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
But
I just talked
I have
to.
to ask you.
I just talked to Jeff Gossett. The Raiders have invited all the alumni to come home, and they're gonna play in a golf tournament. They get $5,000, and then when they get to the stadium, they're gonna get another $1,000, and so they get a total of $6,000. So this is a Raider weekend. So it's gonna be a big Raider bash over there this weekend. So celebration. So I'm going with the Raiders. I just got insight that they celebrating their players and alumni this weekend against the New England Patriots. So
yeah, I'm gonna go with the
Raiders.
New England Patriots. I was gonna go with the Raiders anyway.
Okay.
You and
Belichick beat Jimmy G.
Right. Yeah. Nah.
No, I don't think so. They got too much going on this weekend.
Let me ask you this question: do you think Belichick's job is in danger?
I think it's gonna be a time for a change pretty soon. I really do.
I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a time for a change.
He won a lot of championships for Kraft.
Yeah.
Rick got the Raiders. Arizona at the Los Angeles Rams.
Like I just mentioned, the Rams are playing some of the best football out there, and Cooper Kupp is back, and that rookie is out there scoring as well. Yeah. So the Rams just gonna be tough to beat now.
Yeah, I gotta go with the Rams.
Yeah,
Rick goes with the Rams too. Philadelphia at New York, the Jets.
Philadelphia, man, they got their defense. Whew.
They're bullies too.
Yeah, and then the receivers. So you can't go against the Eagles.
Yeah,
Eagles and the 49ers are gonna be hard to beat anybody. I don't care who they play.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Eagles too. Detroit at Tampa Bay. This is where we're gonna have our argument at. Woo! Somebody said the Jets in the upset.
The Jets in the upset? Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, upset.
Make sure when we do our show on Sunday, you keep that same energy. I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia, but Detroit at Tampa Bay.
I'm going with Tampa Bay.
I'm going with Tampa Bay too. Rick, where you at?
This is not Jack. This is not Jack. He hoped the Bucks win it.
I think the Bucks are going to win it. If it was in Detroit, Rick, I'd pick Detroit, but I think Tampa Bay. It's going to be a good game.
It'll be a good game. I just think the St. Brown and they got a couple of injuries Detroit does. So I'm just thinking that I think in the fourth quarter that defense gonna carry them over the hump. Tampa Bay.
How about New York Giants at Buffalo?
Oh, I'm going with Buffalo. Yeah, last week I picked against Buffalo, but this week I'm going with Buffalo. The Giants just don't have nothing going for them right now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's past Jack's bedtime. I'm going to have to go with Buffalo.
Yeah.
Now, here's the hard one for me. Dallas at the Los Angeles Chargers. And here's the problem.
Monday Night Football.
It's Monday Night Football. But before the season, when they fired Kellen Moore, Mike McCartney said he was a gadget guy, and he wanted to have his offense cater to the defense and keep them fresh. Well, that gadget guy is playing, got them playing pretty good. And you think he gonna try to take care of Mike McCartney?
I think this is gonna be one of those games that might come down to the last quarter.
You think so?
Yeah.
I'm not going with Dallas. I'm going with the Chargers.
You going with the Chargers?
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm going with the Chargers.
I'm gonna go opposite. I'm going with the Cowboys.
Okay.
Because I think they back against the wall. this is a must win for the Cowboys.
I agree. Rick has got a good point. Brandon Staley is known. But I don't, Rick, the reason I'm going with the Chargers is I don't know if the Cowboys can stop Brandon. They're not Justin Herbert. But the Chargers are not very good on defense. They got a really good safety, but other than that, they're not very good on defense. And then Bosa's been hurt with the hamstring, but they do get Austin Eckler back.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go.
And he's a beast. He can get it. He can go get it.
Yeah. Still 3-1. Houston against the Twins, and Philly just beat Atlanta 10-2.
Wow. Philly got that mojo going.
Yeah. Bryce Harper had 2 home runs.
Wow.
His first multi-home run game. So there. So that's it. But there's a couple things I want to talk about. Last week, the Jets played the Broncos, and they beat the Broncos in Denver. And
I heard they need some oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Pads is freaking out.
Yeah, he is. Philly's playing good. But that was the one where Hackett was.
Yeah.
They taught. Peyton said he did a terrible job.
Right.
Now, Peyton is not looking very good.
Sometimes you can put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah, and that's what happened there. And now they, Hackett never said anything, but I'm sure he was happy.
He got the last laugh.
And he got the game ball too.
Yeah, he got the game ball. So yeah, he don't have to say nothing as long as you win games, you don't have to say nothing.
Yeah. And tight end Kelsey is questionable versus the Broncos. It won't matter. Won't matter. Kelsey, he just wants to spend some more time with Taylor Swift.
Yeah, he can sit this one out.
And then Josh Allen is getting tired of the talk and defends Diggs' behavior. And the thing about it, great receivers are going to get mad when things are not going well. And that's no big deal. The great ones are there.
Right.
And that's just how they are. They do have huge egos. And they want the ball every single time. They think they're open every time.
They do. That's part of their game.
And that's just, that's you guys are egomaniacs.
Well, we like challenges. So throw the ball. Just throw the ball. Just throw it up. Don't throw it out of bounds, Dak. Don't keep it in bounds. Keep it in bounds. And go get it.
But that's the one thing that I would ask the question is CeeDee Lamb, he has to be open to make a play, as opposed to what you just said. The great ones, they're going to go up there and get it.
Yeah. And
that's what the question is he – and it was kind of interesting. Jerry
That's
Jones.
why Dig been doing it all year. This year, he been off the chain.
Yeah.
He players like that been making plays. That's what you do. You just shut up and play the game.
Yeah, and I was going to say that when the ball's in the air, they think that ball is theirs. There's no way anybody's going to get it away. Where some guys, CeeDee Lamb, during a play is arguing about pass interference. And he had an opportunity to make a play. You can't do that.
You can't do. You don't play the game that way because now the referee gonna say this guy. It just messes up your whole game up. Now you thinking about the referees and them not calling the play versus you catching the ball and making something happen.
Yeah, and the Jets' approach to the tush push, what they call it now with the Philadelphia Eagles, is to have 11 bodies.
Right.
On Jalen Hurts. And I don't think that's going to work. I don't know how do you stop that play. But
nobody stopped it yet.
But they tried that in Winnipeg, and in the Canadian football team,
you get a yard off.
Yard off, and they stopped it. They stopped it on a third down because it's only
three down. Yeah,
they stopped it. I couldn't believe it.
Wow, you usually get 1 yard up in Canada because the way they wait with the 1 yard off.
Somebody was doing that, and their quarterback got hurt.
Yeah, somebody did do that. I seem like I heard about that.
Yeah, the quarterback got hurt. And then Kirk Cousins is ignoring trade talks. He said it's not worth his time. But he does have a no trade clause.
Well, I think Kirk Cousins gonna turn around for him. After about 5 or 6 games, they get back in control of things.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think with the Vikings.
Yeah. And there was a trade this week. And it was Van Jefferson. He got traded to Atlanta.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he got traded to Atlanta for a 7th round pick. They weren't really with Puka coming up for the Rams, like you said. He wasn't getting any playing time or catches. Yeah,
well, he just sometimes it's time to go to a new place, new atmosphere.
Yeah.
But he still got some players.
Yeah, he's young and he did have some good year.
Yeah.
And then and here's my thing, I'll tell you after. Sources: NFL mulls are fine for the Andy Dallas shirt because you saw what he had on his shirt.
I didn't see that.
Kittle, F Dallas.
Oh, okay.
And if you don't want to see the shirt, you got to stop him. He scored 3 touchdowns. Jimmy Johnson would always say, if you don't want him to score, and you stop him then.
Yeah.
You don't want us to score, and you stop us.
Yeah.
But I agree with that.
But you know what, though, Jim? One of the things that y'all was good at scoring on defense. Y'all would take an interception, a fumble, or something, and y'all would make a difference. Y'all would get 7 points for the defense.
Yeah.
Back in the day.
Yeah. And they're still doing it. They're getting turnovers now, Dallas. But can they play? But we played it. We are average teams. We were number 1 defense in the league. And just like the Giants, when they were really good, is they made they would hold people. They would destroy you on defense.
Yeah.
What did Rick say about the Vikings? He said Justin Jefferson. I mean, Diggs
made the great catch in Viking history, but he's still a jerk.
Yeah. But you got if you'd had Diggs, you wouldn't have got Jefferson. Think about it.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't have a problem with Kittle did. I don't have a problem. Stop him. And then you don't have to worry about that. And then Michael Parsons made a comment that there's not that much difference between the Cowboys and the 49ers. There is that much.
There's a big difference. But did Kittle have 3 touchdowns this past week?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. And you got to stop him. Yeah.
But I like the way
he's throwing the king.
Yeah.
To take the king's throne,
you got to. Yeah, you got to outplay him.
Oh, no, Rick, you made money this week. You made money this week, buddy.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
That was a good game.
Now, the next thing is Dolphins put star rookie running back Archain knee on it. He was playing good too.
Yeah, he was. He was second to Christian McCaffrey for his rushing in the NFL. He had 400 and some yards rushing this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So the question is, do you have any idea who the biggest trades are going to be this year? Because you were always a shocking trade. I don't think Kirk Cousins is going anywhere.
Yeah, it's gonna be shocking, but I'm trying to think who could be traded though. I know last year Denver had some trades. Remember last year they had some players up from their defense.
Chubbs.
Yeah, Chubbs. Yeah.
In Miami.
Yep. But Miami is
Then
always
they traded the kid from Chicago.
yeah. Claypool.
Claypool.
Yeah.
They said they might make him a tight end.
Well, they could put him inside the slot. They could put him in there. So yeah, because he can block. He's a pretty good blocker.
Yeah.
But he kind of been having nagging injuries too. I think he only done caught 10 passes this year.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Let me ask you this question. Would you trade for Kyler Murray?
I like Kyler Murray.
I know you do. That's why I'm asking.
If I was the Giants, I would.
For Kyler Murray.
I would, yeah. For
Giants?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
They need a change. They need to mix up some stuff.
So what are you going to do with Daniel Jones? Because you got all that guaranteed money, and Kyler Murray's got a lot of money. You're probably going to lose Saquon.
Yeah, that right now that wouldn't even fit the equation. Wouldn't even fit the, that wouldn't be business like. You'd be killing yourself. Do that.
I was just curious what you were thinking about that.
Byron is drinking again. But Daniel Jones have had 28 sacks. I don't care what quarterback you get. It doesn't matter. You got to fix the problem. That's the offensive line problem right now.
Yeah.
The 28 sacks. It really not. It doesn't matter about the quarterback until you fix the problem.
No, they didn't cut him, Rick. They didn't cut Kyler Murray. He's been injured with that knee.
Yeah.
And there's a clause in his contract. If he plays and he gets hurt again, he's guaranteed his whole contract. But if he doesn't play, then if they let him go, his cap hit is not as large. He's not as guaranteed as much money. It's still quite a bit of money. So
he got a good contract. Yep, those contracts, man. Now, that guarantee.
Oh, Claypool. No, they didn't cut him, Rick.
He got traded. He got traded to Miami.
He got to the Dolphins.
Yeah. Yeah, he got traded to Miami.
Yeah, the Dolphins got a lot of receivers.
Man, they stacked their receivers.
They are stacked.
So they know when you pull a hamstring or you pull a muscle or something, they got somebody to go right in there.
Do you think he's the next Andy Reid McDaniels? Mike McDaniels, okay, coach. He's pretty innovative.
Oh, he is. He's very smart, and anytime you can put up 70 points, you got to salute the guy.
He walks to the beat of a different drummer. He goes out dancing and stuff.
He's not your traditional coach.
No, he's pretty good.
I like it. That's what you got to do. You got to mix up the sauce.
Yeah, you do. You're right. Who's your pick to win the NBA real quick championship this year?
I think it's gonna be Milwaukee.
Ooh,
I just go ahead.
That's good, but they got to get out of that tough East.
It's gonna be Milwaukee. Milwaukee will be hard to beat if they can stay healthy.
The same with Denver. I think Denver is going to do it again.
Denver can't go back to back.
Why not?
It's hardly ever happened in NBA.
Jokovic.
I don't think they're gonna go back to back myself.
Yeah, and it's the top of the 7th, and it's 3-2 Astros.
So Milwaukee made it.
Minnesota.
Minnesota had another run.
Yeah, good guy. Who's on Sunday? I'll be back Sunday, Rick. But we'll have some good guests on Sunday. We're starting to get some really good guests on a Sunday. It's going to be a good show, and it's always great to have you on it, Rick.
Rick knows stuff.
Yeah, he really does. Rick is good to have on there. So
I bet you Rick don't know how to do the waddle.
Nah, he don't. We're gonna waddle out of here. It's almost that time. We got to waddle out of. That was pretty cool how they did it, though. All the receivers got together and did it.
Yeah, that was good.
I thought you liked that.
Oh, I like that.
But it's getting close to that time, and we got to really, truly waddle out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, we enjoy all Jason, Rick.
Week 5 coming up. Week 5 in the NFL.
Is it 5 or 6?
I thought, it's 6. Week 6. Yeah, that's right. They're 3-2 and 2-3. 1-4.
Yeah. But hey, thank you for coming in. It's time to go. And we'll see you.
All right, we'll see you.